Hi, I'm Janet Givens, and I'm a second grade teacher at Cackley Elementary. Welcome to our class, and this is my second grade class. And today we are going to talk about understanding the text deeply, like we have been doing. And what is the text? Just in case somebody forgot. James?
The text is like the writing.
Right, the story or the passage you're reading. Okay. And when we were talking about this last week, we were talking about how half of reading is knowing the words, and the other half is, Haley,
Understanding them.
understanding the text and what's going on. And so I tried to give you some tips on how you can use the text to help you. So one of the things we were talking about last week was stopping and checking for understanding often. When you read a page, ask yourself, what did they want me to learn from this? What did I understand about the characters from this? To make sure that you are understanding. Another huge thing in second grade that we want to do is to think outside ourselves. A lot of times as second graders, you think about how you would feel or how things have happened to you in the past. And you want to make sure that you are understanding what that character in the story is feeling. So thinking outside yourself and into the characters' brains and imagination. And the last thing that we were talking about was using the text to prove your answer. What does it say in the story to help you come up with that answer? So not just thinking about how you would think, but what does it say in the story to help you prove it, like a good detective, right? So today we're going to read this story called The Mitten Tree. And we're going to think about, as we go along in the story, understanding the story and the characters, okay? And some of you, I gave a card, and on that card, it has a number. And that is the page number that goes along with when we are going to pause for a second and check our understanding, okay? So if you have a card and it matches the page that I'm reading, when we get done with the page, you're going to read us that question and we're going to discuss our deeper understanding of the story, okay? Got it? All right. So The Mitten Tree by Candace Christensen and illustrated by Elaine Greenstein. Thumb up if you've ever heard this story. Okay. All right. At the end of a long lane in a tiny little house, old Sarah lived alone. Her children had grown up and moved away, but Sarah still remembered the mornings when she walked with them to the blue spruce tree where they waited for the school bus. Now, each morning she opened her shutters and watched for new children to arrive. Does anyone have a card with a 1 on it? Okay, Richard, what does it say, sweetie, on your card?
Do you think Sarah was lonely?
Do you think Sarah was lonely? So you might have an opinion on that in your head. Richard, do you have an idea? Do you think Sarah was lonely on this page?
Yes, because she didn't have any friends.
She didn't have any friends to play with. She might be sad because of that. What else does it say on your card, Richard?
Use evidence from the text.
Oh, use evidence from the text to come up with your answer. So, what do you think it said on this page to make you think she was lonely, or maybe you think she's not lonely? Yes, sir.
She didn't have any parents.
She didn't have any parents. Okay. that might make her lonely. Did it say she didn't have any parents?
No, it said that she used to have parents, but now she
Well, let me remind you what it said, okay?
used to have.
Her children had grown up and moved away. But Sarah still remembered the mornings when she walked with them to the blue spruce tree where they had waited for the school bus. Okay, so now that we remember that part about her family had moved away, do you think she was sad? Kaylee, what do you think?
I don't think she's lonely because, well, she still like opens her shutters and she still remembers those good times instead of just being like, it's over, now I should be sad. But she still remembers the good times. So
Okay.
I'm not sure.
When she
All right.
walked to the new
She remembered those times when she walked to the tree, yes, with her own children. And if you look really closely, if you can see, she's in the window smiling. Okay, so maybe she's not too lonely because she is remembering the good times. Every chilly morning, Sarah pulled on her warm coat and started down the lane. As she walked past the children on her way to the mailbox, she wished they would smile and wave. But they never did. The children didn't even seem to notice her. Still, when she saw them, she couldn't help but smile. Okay, let's stop and think about that. What is this character feeling? Does anyone have? Yes, sir. Jack, what does it say, honey?
Why do you think Sarah smiled even though the children did not wave?
Okay, that does seem unusual. She smiled at them and she wanted them to wave and smile, but they didn't. What do you think, Jack?
That she might want to like remember those times when she had fun, when she with her kids at the bus.
Okay, so even though the children did not wave and smile back to her, she still smiled. Maybe because she was remembering her own children when they were younger. Yes. Asia?
Because she gets to see them when she walks by.
Okay, so how does that make her feel maybe?
Makes her happy.
Okay.
Because she's smiling.
Sure. So it brings back good memories. Charlie?
Because she doesn't want to feel sad and lonely. She wants to feel happy and feel like there are children in her house and like he's able to like see them every day.
Okay. So she's looking on the bright side. All right. One winter morning, after the first snow had fallen, all the children were making snowmen and throwing snowballs. All except for one little boy in a blue cap and coat. Even his boots were a dark shade of blue. He stood away from the others with his hands sunk deep in his pockets. What does that mean if your hands are sunk deep in your pockets? Aaron?
It means they're really at the bottom.
Okay, so you've pushed them down in, yes, really far.
It means you're like kind of sad.
Ah, it means you're kind of sad. Why do you think if you sink your hands deep into your pockets, that is sad, Jack?
Because all the other kids are playing together, and you're the only one who is not playing.
All right, well, let's see if there's any evidence in this next paragraph, okay, to support that. When the school bus arrived, he lingered behind and was last in line. As Sarah watched the little boy climb into the bus, she could see one thing. He had no mittens. Right, does anybody have a card with a 4 on it?
I do.
All right, what does it say, Kaylee?
The boy lingered in line. What is the meaning of that?
Okay, so it's a word alert. Sometimes you might come across a word and you do not know what it means. And so you've got to stop to check for your understanding. Do you have any idea of what it means when it says the boy lingered in line? Lingered.
Got in line?
He got in line. Possibly that might. Let's see if we can add anything to that. Yes, sir.
Waddled.
Waddled. Maybe. Kind of shuffled in. Okay. Perhaps. Yes, ma'am.
Slowly walked.
He slowly walked in line. Yes. You're definitely getting warmer here. Caden.
Slowly tiptoed.
Okay, maybe he tiptoed. Okay. Let me use lingered in another sentence to give you a little bit more information. I lingered in the hallway after lunch because I didn't quite want to go back to class. What does that mean, lingered? Asia?
Left behind.
Okay, kind of left behind and waited. Yes. Okay. Are there any other cards on page 4? All right, let's keep going. All that day, Sarah couldn't stop worrying about the little boy with no mittens. Late in the afternoon, as the sky grew dark, Sarah dug through the basket of yarn scraps she had saved for many years. She found her needles and 4 shades of blue wool. And then Sarah began to knit. What do you think she's going to make? Menahel?
Mittens.
Mittens. Why do you think that? What evidence in the text makes you infer she's going to make mittens?
She was worrying about the boy,
Mhm.
and then, well, because his hand, he felt his hands kind of cold.
Do you think that might be why he had them sunk deep into his pockets?
Oh,
Yeah, I've done that before, right? Yes. Okay. Sarah worked late into the night, and when the sun began to rise, she hurried to the bus stop and hung the mittens on the old blue spruce tree. From behind the hedge, Sarah watched. Does anyone have a card with an 8 on it? What does it say, dear?
Sarah watched from behind the hedge, meaning
Okay, Sarah watched from behind the hedge. That might not be a word you're used to hearing. Do you know what that means? She watched from behind the hedge. Yes, Cal?
like she watched behind the house.
So you think a hedge is a house? Maybe. Okay, any other ideas of what a hedge is? Yes?
A corner.
Maybe a corner. Maggie, what do you think? A what?
Porch.
Oh, maybe a porch. Claire?
A bush.
A bush. A hedge is another word you might not be used to hearing for bushes. If you have a hedge outside your house, you might have a nice row of bushes and it almost makes like a wall, kind of. So you can kind of hide behind it. Have you ever seen that in your own lives? Yes.
Yeah, I
So
have
that is what a
all
hedge
the
is.
time.
Okay.
I thought it was a ring. I have an E2.
Oh, you have an 8 too. Okay, what does it say, dear?
How do you think the boy felt
Oh,
when he got the gloves?
how do you think the boy felt when he got the gloves? I know it says use evidence from the story. Not just think about how you would feel, but how he felt using evidence from the story. Caden?
He might have felt happy
Why?
because once he looked, he had mittens
So he had new mittens he
and his
found.
face smiled.
And his face smiled, yes. Yes, often the illustrations give you clues. Aaron?
They fit with a big smile.
Okay. Yeah, and they even are all blue, right? Okay. Soon, a little girl in a red coat arrived. Her mittens didn't match. So maybe she'd lost one, but instead of getting new ones, she just had some mismatched ones. And that night Sarah knitted with red yarn. Every day now, as Sarah went to the mailbox, she watched the children without mittens. And then she would hurry home and knit. Early in the morning, she would hang the new mittens on the tree. The children loved the game. Each day they would search under every branch and bough for another pair of mittens. Once or twice, Sarah thought that the boy with the blue mittens had seen her, but he always looked away. Does anyone have a card with a 10? Charlie? What does it say?
How can you tell the children love the game?
Ah, how can you tell? What evidence, what does it say in the story that makes you think the children loved the game? James?
It even says in the text, the children love the game.
The children love the game, but how did they act? What did they do that also supports that idea? Jack?
They were like happy and excited to like get more mittens to be and have like comfy have warm things on their hand, warm mittens on their hands when they go out.
Absolutely. Aaron, anything else?
Every day they would search under the branch and look for another pair of mittens.
Okay, so every day they would search. So they would excitedly go to the tree every morning and see if there are any new mittens. So that tells you they love to play the game. Night after night, Sarah knitted mittens in every color. Some had stripes, some had hearts, some even had little snowflakes all over them. Somehow, even though she had never spoken to the children, Sarah felt like they had become her new family. Does
There's
anyone
no
have a
one in
page with a 12 on it? Alex, do you?
Yes.
What's it say, sweetie?
What does the author mean when she says Sarah had a new family?
Yeah, what does the author mean when it says Sarah felt she had a new family? Asia?
Because she used to make some mittens for her children,
For her own children?
and that felt like it was her children
So this,
because she was knitting.
she was knitting mittens and it brought back memories of her children when they were young. And now she feels that this is like her new family. Kaylee?
The kids loved it, and so like her kids used to love her, so it made her feel like they probably loved her. So
Yeah,
she
that's
made
what I was trying.
Yeah. Very good. Aaron, what else do you want to add?
Because all the children liked that she made mittens for them.
Mm-hmm. And so she felt that it was special to them also. Bennett, what did you say about this picture? Because you're up close and can see well.
That there's no more knitting.
So there's no more yarn in her basket?
Yeah.
All right, let's see what might happen then. On the last day before winter break, Sarah awakened before dawn. Does anyone have a card that says 14 on it? Maggie, do you? Oh, Asia, do you have a 14?
Yes.
What does it say?
Sarah awakened before dawn. What is the other way to say that?
Okay, so it said on the last day she awakened before dawn. What's another way of saying that? We don't normally hear that in everyday life. What does that mean, Maggie?
She woke up before the sun rose out.
She woke up before the sun came up, yes. So they wanted to make it sound a little fancier, right? And they used their juicy words
Or
and phrasing.
morning.
Or morning, yes. She took the empty basket that had once held her yarn and filled it to the brim with mittens. What does that mean, to fill it to the brim? Because that's another thing you might not understand as you read. Yes, sir?
The rim.
What's a rim?
The rim is something that
If you fill something to the brim or the rim, where is that?
the rim is the top of the thing.
So the top of the basket, yes. Out the door and down the steps she headed. When she got to the blue spruce tree, she hung mittens on every branch. The boy with the blue mittens was the first to arrive. He stood very still and waited for the others. In fact, all the children stood very still for a few minutes looking at the mysterious, beautiful mitten tree. Have you ever gone outside and seen a tree covered with mittens? No, so that would be really an amazing thing to see. Very good observation. She is looking in the hedge or
She's
bushes.
in the middle of it.
Yes. But Sarah's heart was full. Whoops, I skipped a page. When they boarded the bus, each child now wore a pair of mittens. Sarah watched as one by one their faces appeared in the bus windows. Still, no one looked her way as she started home.
That might be what she thinks.
But Sarah's heart was full. It was as full as when the sounds of her own children had filled her home. Does anyone have a card with a 20 on it? Amisha, what does it say, sweetheart?
Why do you think Sarah's was full?
Why do you think her heart was full? Does that mean she wasn't feeling well, or what does that mean? Amisha?
She was really happy.
She was really happy. She was full of joy. Any other words to describe how your heart might be full? Yes, sir.
She felt like it was like her own family.
Yeah.
That she was being loved, and she might not think they were looking at her, but they might actually be looking.
Okay, very good, Jack. As Sarah neared her porch and climbed the steps, she saw something waiting for her. There in the corner was a basket woven with thick brown vines and decorated with a large white bow. In it were balls and balls of beautiful, colorful yarn. How do you think she felt when she saw this? Manahel?
Surprised.
Surprised. What evidence do you think helps you think that?
But looking at the picture, her hands are on her mouth.
Okay, yes. Oftentimes the illustrator gives you hints as to what the character's feeling. Yes. You just have to remember to look. Sarah, to this day, knits mittens for all the children in her town. Every time her basket is empty, a new full one appears.
And probably everybody in the town gets it. And then I wouldn't say it's crazy.
Sarah doesn't know who the yarn is from. The children still don't know who the mittens are from. But someone must.
What if it's one of the parents?
Does anyone have a card with a 26? Claire, what does it say?
Can you infer who weaves yarn for Sarah? Why do you think that?
Okay. Can you infer or make a good educated guess using evidence from the story? Very good, Bennett. Who do you think might leave it for her? Claire, any ideas?
The little boy at the beginning who
Okay, so maybe the first little boy that she made the first blue mittens for? Now, why do you think that?
Because it said that she thought that he might have saw her.
Okay, so because earlier in the story she said, I think maybe he saw me. Okay, yes, that would be a good inference. Charlie, what do you think?
I think it was the boy on with the blue, because if you look at the other page, so it looks like he's only wearing blue, but his boots are different. So it seems like that he is there because he loves blue, and so his clothes were blue.
Okay, that's possible, yes. Kaden, what do you think?
It was the boy with the blue mittens, because in the back you can see his mittens.
You can see his mittens in the back.
Maybe in the front?
No, in the back. He made cover that.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, maybe. Does the author tell us who did it?
No.
No.
Might have been the cat in the window.
So it could be several
But he's
possibilities,
smiling.
right? Kaylee, what do you think?
I think it was the little boy, but then he told the town, and the town worked together to buy that yarn. I
Okay.
think the boy started out with the idea, and then he told people about it. Yeah.
Why do you think he might have had a little help from others? I think that's a good inference. But what makes you think that? Maybe using your own life experiences. Do you think that the boy could go to the store and get the yarn by himself?
No.
No, because he's a child, right? So she thinks maybe he got some help from some grown-ups. I agree.
Or his friends.
Or friends, yes.
They liked the game, so they can just start over and start over and start
Okay, so maybe they told their moms and dads or grandparents? Yes. Okay, so the mitten tree reminds us as we go through there how to stop often and check your understanding. When you come to new words, don't just keep reading. Always stop to see if you know what it means and ask if you don't, right? Think outside yourself and into the story and to the characters. We in second grade so easily want to just put our own thoughts and feelings in. But remember when we read Little Polar Bear last week? Sometimes what we felt was not the same as the character, right? So you got to keep that in mind. And use evidence to always support your answers. Can anyone relate themselves to this text and their own experience? You know how sometimes we relate our experiences to the text to gain better understanding. Has anything ever like this happened to you? Yes, Jack. Bless you.
Once, I had no like farm boots, and my for Christmas, when I was at the farm, my grandparents saw that my shoes were all cracked and muddy, so they got me a pair of farm boots.
Okay, great. That's a great connection to the story. He needed new boots for the farm, and his grandparents got him some. Did you know it was them?
At first, no, but then once, like, when we were going to the farm, I saw, like, a little label on it that said, to Jack from, like,
Very good. Asia?
I didn't have a raincoat, and Santa got me one, and I didn't even know at first it was Santa because it said to Asia, and it didn't have a real name. And then I told my grandparents it's from Santa because my grand called Santa and said to to give me one because when I go out in the rain, my coat gets all wet, and I like to clean the rain.
Good. So you have a new waterproof coat. Thank you for watching.
Ow!